So, Vaush is back again, everyone's favorite literal communist. And this time, it seems that he's put me in a very difficult position. A position which I hoped I'd never have to be in at any point during my YouTube career. That is, today I may have to, at least in part, defend, of all people, of all things, PragerU. Now, before you unsubscribe, of course, anyone familiar with my channel should know that PragerU is basically the height of the bad type of conservatism that this channel is pretty much dedicated to critiquing. Which is why I never really expected that I would make a video defending them, at least in part, but considering the criticisms that Vaush makes, it's necessary that I do at least a little bit, though there's obviously a greater point I'm trying to get at here. So, honestly, I haven't been watching Vaush's videos as much as I used to, though it's something I still do from time to time, especially for this channel. But I do know from the videos of him that I have watched that criticizing PragerU is one thing he does regularly on his live streams. Despite as bad as PragerU can be, his criticisms are often even worse. That's because, as I've talked about before, Vaush's main tactic is just trying to speak with authority and shouting and laughing at people. It's not really about making any sort of reasoned argument, it's just about trying to frame himself in a position where it seems like he must be right. You'll see this several times in the video that I'm going to be critiquing today, but I remember another point in a different video once where he did a similar thing. He was scrolling through the front page of PragerU's most recent videos, and he saw that they did one video that was criticizing the French Revolution, and they did another video that was saying good things about it. And he was just confused. He couldn't understand how this could possibly be. How could one YouTube channel go from at one point criticizing the French Revolution to another point saying that it might be all right? Now, I'm no fan of the French Revolution, and I think it's pretty cringe that a so-called conservative channel could be promoting it. But it's pretty simple. The whole point of PragerU is that they have a bunch of different people on that give not identical perspectives. Like, is this hard to figure out? Is it crazy that one YouTube channel with two different people could produce two different perspectives on the French Revolution? And he just, as always, just shouts and makes fun and implies this must be ridiculous. They're just blatantly contradicting themselves. Because with Vaush, as I said, the point is not any type of reason or logic. The point is to just make fun of people and try to present some sort of pretense of authority and superiority. Okay, but that's enough preamble. What is the video in particular that I'll be talking about today? Well, it's from last October. So it's a little old, but I don't think that really dates too much of what was going on in it. The video from Vaush was titled, "What Do You Do If Your Teacher Shows You a PragerU Video in Your Class?" The video starts with Vaush discussing a Huffington Post article that was talking about apparently PragerU videos being shown in classrooms in Ohio. Vaush is absolutely shocked and outraged by this. He says that this is just blatant propaganda and indoctrination, and that it's absolutely inappropriate to show these videos to high school kids. Vaush, of course, does not want to indoctrinate anyone. He just wants to teach people facts and logic.
There is exactly one context in which it is acceptable to show a PragerU video in a classroom, and that is in a study on propaganda. I have watched many PragerU videos. They are very bad. And when I say bad, I don't mean they're poorly produced. They are well produced, actually. I mean they are bad in that they are dishonest, propagandistic, created with a political motive, and uniformly a deliberate effort to promote brainwashing. There are ways to educate people about a topic, even a topic with a strong political bias, without being propagandistic. You can introduce different ways of thinking. You can lead students to given conclusions by giving them the thought processes necessary to arrive there.
So Vaush, despite being literally a communist, does not want to indoctrinate anyone into anything. He just wants people to teach children properly, so they have the skills necessary to think about these issues, and then they'll come to the correct conclusions. Okay, so I'm sure most of my audience knows that Vaush is massively dishonest, and it's almost pointless to point that out, but I am going to spend a bit of time in this video to make that point as clear as it can be. He reveals the entire game when just a few minutes later, he says this.
Couldn't the same be said about the Gravel Institute? Two differences there. First of all, no. Left-leaning videos aren't full of the same disinformation that right-leaning videos are. Very important. And second of all, teachers aren't showing left-leaning videos in their classes, okay? Be really clear about that, okay? I would love to live in a world where teachers all over the place are showing fucking, like, socialist propaganda in their classrooms, you know?
Now, first, I want to say that in high school, I certainly did see what can literally be called socialist propaganda presented by some teachers. And no, I don't mean the BoomerCon definition of socialism. I mean from actual socialist groups. But really, that's beside the point. Just right here, we can see pretty clearly that the entire premise of this video is just a lie. He goes on and on about how the problem is that this is propaganda. This is trying to indoctrinate students. And then he just blatantly says, yeah, I mean, I'd love socialist propaganda if that was shown to students. That would be epic. Let's go over the clip again.
I would love to live in a world where teachers all over the place are showing fucking, like, socialist propaganda in their classroom. Socialist propaganda, socialist propaganda, socialist propaganda.
So there it is, Vaush exposed with facts and logic. He obviously does not care that it's propaganda that is being shown to children. What Vaush cares about is that it's right-wing propaganda, it's conservative propaganda, that it's propaganda that he disagrees with. That's the issue here. As I already said, it should be pretty clear that Vaush is dishonest, but perhaps there's some people watching this who this will finally break through to them. And I can anticipate what the objection here would be from Vaush fans. He's only joking when he says socialist propaganda. He doesn't really mean that he wants teachers all over the place to be showing socialist propaganda to their students. He just means that he thinks it would be a good thing if there were lots of socialist teachers who could bring up socialist ideas. And just because of the topic he's on, he used the term propaganda sort of jokingly. Another absurdity that occurs early in the video, and again, one which I can only conclude is a result of Vaush being dishonest, is when he says what exactly it is that he and students who are followers of him are afraid of by teachers showing these videos in their classrooms.
Now, first of all, you have to ask yourself, why do you have a problem with this? If you recognize PragerU as a bad thing to be shown in a classroom, you probably aren't worried about getting radicalized yourself. You're probably worried about your classmates getting radicalized, correct? Going to assume that's correct. If you're worried about your classmates getting radicalized, then you're essentially dealing with a microcosm of the same issue I deal with every day. In an optical sense, how do you take a conservative disinfo piece and frame it in a way that minimizes its ability to radicalize your peers?
The literal communist Vaush is afraid that children will be radicalized. Now, obviously what Vaush here means by radicalize is they will adopt ideas that he doesn't like. PragerU is the most mainstream of mainstream American conservatism. It is, by its very definition, not radical. You can say however much you want how damaging their opinions might be, how bad they might be, how bad for both America and the world, but the one thing that they could not possibly be is radical. And Vaush, the literal communist, who believes in so-called libertarian socialism, is by definition incredibly radical. His policy prescriptions, if they were to ever be implemented, would be a radical departure from how any economy anywhere on Earth is organized. So he's obviously just using this term because it has a negative connotation and because some people will be stupid enough to believe that it applies to PragerU of all places and of all things. Later in the video, he gets to the meat of what the video is really about. That is, he's trying to show students how to respond to teachers if they show a PragerU video in their classroom. He gives a lot of different options on ways you can try and get your teacher in trouble. None of that is really very relevant for this video. He says stuff like go to your parents, go to the principal, go to the school newspaper, go to an actual newspaper. After that, he explains how you can respond to your teacher in the middle of class in front of all the other students to try and win the argument.
Why did you show us this? If you get an opportunity to ask the professor that question, which you should only do after you have in some way impugned the legitimacy of this PragerU video, you have them. Because there are only a couple of things the professor can say from that point. The most likely one is, well, I wanted us to have a classroom discussion on this. To which your answer should be, like, on how bad it is, or that it's bias, or it's the propaganda, or like we talk about how wrong it is, or very rarely is a professor going to have the stones to actually defend the stupid fucking premises in a PragerU video. But if they actually want to defend it, and here's the key, you want to put them on the defensive, that's when you have the opportunity to ask them the follow-up question. Why don't they provide any sources in the description of these videos?
Wow. Now this is where he drops the bomb, where he absolutely destroys PragerU with facts and logic. Where are the sources? Huh? I can just imagine how the average high school teacher would probably react to that. And it would probably be to just have some sort of confused look on their face and say something about how they don't really know they're not the ones that made the video. I know this because I guess you could say me and Vaush are kindred spirits in a certain sense. He talks about quite a bit in this video how he used to destroy his high school teachers with facts and logic in debates. And I actually did the same thing in high school, and it was really fun. Looking back, I realized that I was an idiot, but it's still pretty fun to think back about how when I was 16, I was able to own my teachers with BoomerCon talking points. So I'm sure Vaush is right. Asking the teacher where are the sources would probably make you win the argument. It would probably embarrass them. I know this because I remember many teachers not even being able to figure out how to turn off the autoplay button on YouTube. Never mind navigate to the description and find the link to the sources, if, of course, such a link exists. Which, as Vaush has assured us, they don't exist on PragerU videos. So yes, this is a good argument from Vaush, 10 out of 10. It will probably make many of these kids embarrass their teachers. However, there is one problem with it.
They do use sources. First of all, nobody knows that. You think anybody who watches PragerU looks at the sources? Second of all the sources they use are sourced towards far-right sites. If you start looking at these sites and all the sources are fucking the Daily Wire or Breitbart...
Yeah, so the one problem is that that's just not true at all. They do use sources. They have a whole big source section that they link to under every single video, or at least under every single one of those classic PragerU infotainment videos. They do have long-form content also. Not really sure what the source situation is there. This could be easily forgiven if Vaush had never responded to a PragerU video before, or at least if it wasn't a frequent thing that he did. But if you just search under YouTube, Vaush PragerU, you'll see that he's done tons of these. And in this very video, he of course comments on how he has debunked many, many PragerU videos. That their arguments are terrible and he can just destroy them whenever he wants. So there are two possibilities here. Either Vaush has done, I don't know, at least a dozen PragerU responses, and he just has never known the fact that they have any sources. Or he did know that, and he was just presenting this argument because he knew it would be able to confuse teachers, and most of them wouldn't be able to or wouldn't bother to check for sources to begin with. Either way, neither makes Vaush look very good. He does, of course, go on to do damage control, and he checks out the source section. Because of the way he fumbles around it, I would infer that he has literally just never checked this before in his many debunkings.
In fact, we can look right here, actually. Hey, hold on. Where's the sources? To view the script sources, watch this. Help support our mission. Oh, that's interesting. So you're trying to look at the sources. First you get the video, then you get the description, then you get the email sign-up sheet, then you get the donation link, then you get the recommended for you. Wait, where do you get the... Here, facts and sources. Studies have consistently found the college faculty members who identify as liberal greatly outnumber self-identified conservative faculty members. Yeah, liberals are more educated. A 2016 study of faculty voter registration at 40 leading U.S. universities in the fields of blah, 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 found Democrats outnumber Republicans. So here's the kicker, folks. The video is full of wacky prescriptive claims about the left. The sources are just affirming the fact that Democrats are more educated than Republicans. Related video, college made me conservative. That's not a source. Oh, a source, another PragerU video. Wow, that's damn. I didn't know you could do that. When you see this, ask your professor if you can do this in your papers, by the way. Source, remember that other paper I wrote for you at the beginning of the semester? Yeah, ask them if they can do that. And then when they say no, ask why this educational institution that calls itself a university is holding itself to a lower standard of citation etiquette than you would be as a high schooler.
Vaush's prior assertion that these are all right-wing sources is just made up. I actually went through every single one of the sources from this video that Vaush was reviewing, and not a single one was from a right-wing source. They were all from very mainstream outlets. Of course, the only right-wing sources that they do cite are their own related videos, which, as in that clip I just showed you, can see he is absolutely outraged by. Those aren't even really sources, though. They're saying those are related videos that talk about similar subjects. And they all have their own source sections also. He then quickly reads off several of these excerpts, and quickly tries to argue how they don't prove what PragerU claims they're trying to prove. This is all really a bit beside the point. I'm not going to get into the argument about whether or not PragerU is correctly proving their argument. As I've already said, it's not like I have any attachment to PragerU anyways. But the point is, it should be absolutely clear from all of this that the way that Vaush framed this entire thing is just dishonest. He has no interest in presenting things in an honest way. He's not trying to get to the truth. He just wants to present his opponents as being radical and dishonest. Okay, but with all of that said, what's the greater point I'm trying to get to here? I think this is a useful demonstration to show the dishonesty of Vaush, and maybe it will convince one or two people who hadn't already realized how dishonest he is. But that's not the main reason I wanted to make this video. That is, Vaush is actually kind of right. Now, as I've already shown, he's wrong in most of the particulars here. But you can have lots of sources, you can have lots of facts, and you can still be presenting something which is propagandistic. Even citing sources from a mainstream, more or less unbiased institution can be used to create a dishonest picture. However, the way Vaush is trying to do this, the way he's trying to frame all of his opponents as bad propaganda, and his side as good propaganda, I guess, from what he said earlier, is just both dishonest and overly simplistic. The issue is not that one side has all the facts and the other side doesn't. The issue is that one side is wrong and the other side isn't. Thanks for watching. Please donate to my Subscribestar or Patreon if you enjoy this content. And please remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and share these videos with anyone who you think will enjoy them. And a special thanks to We Live in a Society, Quo Pregranator, Josiah, King of Evil Florida and the Moon, Seth Apex, Richard, Cringewalker, Zian Harris, Thomas Thomist, Augustine, Skytoucher, Matthias the Templar, Lewis, Phantom, Convert, yourself, Siphius Rex, Litta, and Max Jerome. Thanks everyone again for watching, and goodbye.